Hello and welcome to Andre's YouTube vlog for Wednesday, November 7th, 2012. Well, the 2012 presidential election is over. Barack Obama has been elected for his second term as the 44th President of the United States, and in the state of Maine, it is now legal for same-sex couples to get married, or at least it will be when the law is officially ratified. Now, over the course of the past couple of weeks, I have noticed uneasiness in me about this upcoming election. Now, how is this different for me or for anybody else from any other election that's been experienced? I've gone over many different reasons in my head, and mine personally is that I started hearing talk within the camp of Mitt Romney about issues on the foreign stage in places like Iran and the possibility of a war. Now, I'm dealing with a lot of what you could call survivor's guilt, as it were. I never have any intention or had any intention of going into the armed service for reasons that I'm sure are pretty well known to you. But a lot of people that I'd known, and some of whom I lost contact with, and one of whom I ended my friendship with on rather sour terms, were killed over there in Iraq in the last war. And I was very concerned that there would be another war and there'd be more lives lost. Now, it seems superficial, but it isn't. That's my own personal concern. But there appeared to be a heaviness about the election, and there was a sense of being afflicted with it. So much so that a lot of people around my age group actually had decided that they did not want to vote this year because they decided that they really didn't have any logical reason to. And it was for that reason, and only for that reason, that I decided to vote myself. Not just for my own personal reasons, but also to make a statement for those people who decided not to vote. And even though I am a voter, I have to admit that I can understand, to a degree, why somebody in my age group would not want to vote. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. Basically, I think the general issue that seemed to make this past election seem more like an affliction than an occurrence is simply the fact of trust. Not blind trust, not trust based in lack of knowledge, but trust based on a decision made through well-rounded assessment. Now, a good example of this sense of trust would be cell phones. Now, obviously, you know, a lot of people have cell phones of all different types. Pay-as-you-go services, monthly cell phones or yearly plans, all kinds of different things. But the fact of the matter is that no cell phone plan that I've ever seen engenders any particular sort of trust in the user. For one thing, the majority of non-pay-as-you-go cell phones deal with contracts. And when I tend to hear the word contract, I tend to think of hucksterism and flim-flammery. You know, a contract is usually something drawn up between two people who don't really trust one another. I've always been of the firm opinion that a given individual becomes worthy of that trust. And there's no piece of paper that you can sign, or there's nothing you can sell to buy that trust as if it were a commodity. And that's what cell phone companies of all sorts seem to do. They seem to treat trust as a commodity. And I think that that kind of philosophy has a lot to do with this election. There was a lot of sense, I think, on one candidate over the other. I'm not going to mention who, but I think most of you are aware who this is. Seem to be having an attitude that you should vote for me because you like me. I want to make you like me, and I want to make other people like me. While the other party was saying that it's your right to like me or dislike me, but there are important things that need to be considered and that need to be done, and I intend to make sure that that is done. And to give you the answer, the party that held the latter opinion is the person who's now president again. And we can disagree with that all we want, but the fact of the matter is it comes down to who we trust, somewhat, but more how we trust, the way in which we trust. And I think that one of the important goals of the president during this next term, he's been elected for 2 terms now, is that after he's officially inaugurated in January, should be of a psychological impact as well as a physical one. He entered the presidency dealing with major situations, with tremendous ones. Economy on the verge of collapse, a war that was killing people by the thousands, a real mess. Now, I think that people have to be helped emotionally. And a president is like a counselor. They have to be, some people call it a spiritual leader, but they somehow have to, in themselves, be able to psychologically be there to help Americans deal with different things. Or any leader, in general, usually has to do that who are good and have good intentions. And the fact of the matter is, this brings up another very dark chapter of President Obama's first term. The out-and-out bigotry that has been leveled at the president and the first family. And it exists. People have responded to my previous video about it with a lot of anger and vitriol and it's not happening and you're off the wall, and I've heard everything. But there are a lot of firm evidence out there that it does exist. But nobody wants to think about it because it makes you uncomfortable, see? Because there is bigotry still in the world. There is bigotry against people of different colors, especially so. But we have a situation of not political correctness. It's political denial. The attitude that, racism has been erased from society for some reason, so we can't possibly be racist. We just have an opinion. Well, I don't call a mass number of people actually backhandedly encouraging tabloid newspapers in this country to go out there and continually harp on Barack Obama's American citizenship, which is ironclad. It is ironclad just because they're not comfortable with someone in power who doesn't look like them. And that's what it comes down to. That's what it really comes down to. And that's a deep psychological scar in our heads. And the deepest part of it is that a lot of people don't even know they have it. And I have been actually personally affected by this. Because, like the president, I'm of biracial origin. And I have seen a precipitous change in attitudes toward myself and other people of biracial origin since his election. And I am actually a member of a Facebook group called Stop the Hatred Toward the President and the First Family. And I will join any group or organization that does this because I realize that when he first got into office, these would be challenges that might be faced. I just didn't know they'd be faced with such conviction and with such harsh reality. And it's a bit depressing. And I suppose that affected me in my willingness to vote in this election too, and have much positive opinion about it. But I have a message. Even if you don't agree with what I'm saying, and I'm sure many of you don't. Maybe one day you will. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But I like to think that my YouTube videos, which are not viewed half as much as I wish they were, not half as much, even at their most, carry a certain message. And that could be why they're not being viewed. A lot of people don't want to see messages. They don't want to hear protest. I really agree with the anti-nuclear activist Dr. Helen Caldicott. I think a lot of us are still on antidepressants. Things are too hard. Give me a drink. Give me a pill. That seems to be the key to everybody. And, when somebody actually has a sense of conviction or expresses it in any way, they're called a crackpot or off the wall or told, aren't you being emotional? Well, the more I think about it, the more appropriate I think emotionalism is as a concerned citizen. And in the risk of being seen to be emotional again, I will say this to you. It's important that we develop a sense of trust, not just in ourselves, not just self-centered morality, but trust that people will do the right thing. Try not to let your fear and bigotry about the color or citizenry of Barack Obama as our president and see what has been done during his first administration as president. Try to see the improvements that have been made and try to let go of your fear. Then again, that's good advice just about anything in life. Don't let something superficial and, of mostly surface value in front of you blind you to what's really happening, because you might miss out on some very good things if you do. And that's my post-election thoughts for the day. And while you may not share them, I hope at least you understand them and give them a chance. Talk to you next time.